Right now, somewhere on a dark highway, someone is pulling into a rest stop. They think they're safe. They think it's just a quick bathroom break. But what if I told you that over 200 people vanish from American rest stops every single year, and most cases are never solved? Tonight, I'm bringing you 10 stories that will change how you see those lonely roadside stops forever. These aren't myths. These are documented cases with police reports, witness statements, and survivors who barely made it out alive. And I'm warning you now. Story number 6 will make you question everything you thought you knew about traveling alone. So buckle up, turn off your lights, and whatever you do, don't pause this video at a rest stop. Before we begin, I need to know something. Drop a comment right now telling me, where are you watching this from? Which city? Which country? And what time is it there? Because what I'm about to share with you, the location and time might matter more than you think. Story 1: The Midnight Attendant. He worked at a rest stop that had been closed for 3 years. Marissa Chen was driving from Seattle to Portland in March 2018, her silver Honda cutting through sheets of rain on Interstate 5. At 11:47 p.m., her gas light blinked on. She cursed under her breath. The next station was 30 miles away, but a rest stop sign appeared like salvation. 2 miles ahead, she pulled into the empty parking lot. No other cars. Just flickering fluorescent lights casting sickly yellow pools across wet concrete. The main building sat dark except for one bathroom light. As Marissa stepped out, the cold hit her like a slap. Something felt wrong. The silence was too complete. No highway noise, no wind, nothing. She walked toward the bathroom, her footsteps echoing. That's when she saw him. A man in a brown uniform stood beside the entrance, perfectly still, watching her. His name tag read TTDNT in faded letters. His face was pale, almost gray, with dark circles under his eyes that looked like bruises. "Bathroom's closed," he said. His voice sounded wet, like he was speaking through water. "The light's on," Marissa replied, her hand moving toward her pepper spray. "Light's always on. Bathroom's closed. You should leave." Something in his tone made her skin crawl. She backed toward her car, never taking her eyes off him. He didn't move, didn't blink, just stood there staring with those sunken eyes. As she reached her door, she noticed his shoes. They were covered in something dark, something that looked like dried blood. Marissa drove away doing 85, her hands shaking so badly she could barely grip the wheel. The next morning, consumed by curiosity and fear, she called the state highway department. The woman on the phone went silent when Marissa described the location. "Mom, that rest stop was permanently closed in 2015. There's no attendant. There hasn't been anyone stationed there in 3 years. And," the woman's voice dropped, "that's where they found the bodies." "What bodies?" "In 2014, a maintenance worker killed 4 people in that bathroom over a 6-month period. Buried them in the septic area behind the building. They caught him, but he died in custody before trial. Hanged himself in his cell. His name was Roland Vickers." "Did the man you saw, did he have a scar across his neck?" Marissa's blood went cold. She had seen it. A thin red line across his throat, barely visible in the dim light. The phone slipped from her hand. According to police records, Roland Vickers had worn the same brown uniform. And in the evidence photos, his shoes were covered in the victim's blood. 3 other drivers have reported seeing the same attendant at that closed rest stop, all between the hours of 11 p.m. and midnight, all on rainy nights. The state tried to demolish the building twice, but both times, construction crews refused to return after the first day. They reported hearing screaming coming from the sealed bathrooms. They reported seeing a man in a brown uniform watching them from the tree line, and they all reported the same thing, the overwhelming smell of decay that seemed to come from nowhere. The rest stop remains closed. The lights still flicker on at night, and if you drive past mile marker 127 on Interstate 5, you might see him standing there. The midnight attendant, still waiting, still watching, still guarding whatever darkness lives in that bathroom. Local police refuse to patrol that area after dark anymore. They won't say why. Story 2: The Running Woman. She was running from her car, not to it. and she was screaming one word. Run. Damon Hartley was a truck driver with 20 years of experience. He'd seen everything on the road, accidents, fights, even a police shootout once. But nothing prepared him for what happened at the Wyoming rest stop in August 2020. It was 3:15 a.m. when he pulled his 18-wheeler into the nearly empty lot. One other vehicle, a red sedan without of-state plates. Damon noticed it because the driver's door was open, interior light on, engine running. Weird, but people did weird things at rest stops. He headed to the bathroom. That's when he heard the screaming. A woman burst from the tree line behind the rest stop, running full speed toward the parking lot. She was barefoot, her feet leaving bloody prints on the pavement. Her clothes were torn. Her face was a mask of pure terror. But what froze Damon's blood was that she wasn't running to her car for safety. She was running past it, toward the highway, screaming the same word over and over. "Raw! Run! Raw!" Damon called out to her, but she didn't stop, didn't even look at him, just kept running until she reached the highway and collapsed on the shoulder. He ran to her, his phone already dialing 911. When he reached her, she grabbed his arm with surprising strength. "Don't go back there," she whispered, her eyes wild. "Don't go to the trees. They're waiting. They're always waiting." "Who's waiting? Who hurt you?" She just shook her head, tears streaming down her face. "The space between the trees. They live in the space between. I saw them. They're not human anymore." Police arrived within 10 minutes. The woman's name was Colette Vance, 29, from Kansas. She'd stopped at the rest stop around 2:45 a.m. to walk her dog. The dog had run into the trees chasing something she followed, and that's where her story fell apart. She claimed she found people in the woods. Not homeless people or criminals. People who'd been living there for years, maybe decades. They were pale, almost translucent in the moonlight. Their movements were wrong, too quick, too angular. They surrounded her, touched her, whispered things in a language she didn't understand. She ran. Her dog never came back. Police searched the woods for 3 hours. They found nothing. No campsite, no evidence of anyone living there. But they did find something that made them stop searching. Scratched into dozens of trees, at exactly eye level, were the same words repeated hundreds of times, T18TEN. The scratches were old, decades old, and beneath many of them, carved into the bark, were initials and dates going back to 1967. The forensics team made another discovery. Colette's bloody footprints showed she'd run from the trees. But there were other footprints around them. Bare feet, at least 12 different people. But these prints didn't come from the trees or go back to them. They appeared next to Colette's prints, and then simply stopped, like whoever made them had vanished mid-step. Colette Vance never fully recovered. She's in a psychiatric facility now, still screaming about the spaces between. Her dog was never found. And here's the thing that keeps Damon up at night before police arrived. While he was waiting with Colette on the highway shoulder, he looked back at the tree line. For just a moment, he saw them, pale figures standing in the darkness between the trees. Not moving, just watching. There were dozens of them, and when he blinked, they were gone. The Wyoming Department of Transportation closed that rest stop 6 months later. Official reason: structural concerns. But Damon talked to one of the workers who cleared out the building. The man told him they found something in the maintenance closet. A journal. It belonged to a rest stop attendant from 1985. The last entry was dated 3 days before the attendant disappeared. It read, "They came closer tonight. I can see them from the window now, standing between the trees. I counted 47 of them. They're whispering my name. I don't think I should have learned their language. I don't think I should understand what they want. Tomorrow, I'm going to walk into the trees. They promised to show me where the others went. They promised to show me the space between spaces. I don't think I'm coming back." The attendant's body was never found. And if you look at satellite images of that rest stop from above, you'll see something impossible. The trees don't make sense. The spaces between them form patterns, symbols, like something is being spelled out in the gaps between the trunks. Something that's been there for a very, very long time. Story 3: The Sleeping Family. All 4 of them were sleeping in their van, but they'd been dead for 6 hours. Trooper Vivienne Leroux had been with the Louisiana State Police for 11 years. She'd seen fatal accidents, drug busts, and crime scenes that would haunt anyone. But nothing compared to the family at the rest stop on Highway 49. It was June 2019, around 4:00 p.m. The summer heat was brutal, over 98 degrees. A concerned motorist had called about a van parked at the rest stop with its engine off, windows up, and what looked like a family sleeping inside. In that heat, they could die from heat stroke within an hour. Vivienne approached the van quickly. She could see them through the windows. A man and woman in the front seats. 2 children in the back. All 4 appeared to be sleeping, heads tilted back, peaceful expressions on their faces. She knocked on the window. No response. She knocked harder. Nothing. She tried the door, unlocked. That's when the smell hit her. Death, unmistakable. She stumbled back, her training kicking in as she called for backup and medical. But even before the coroner arrived, Vivienne knew. They were dead. All 4 of them. And they'd been dead for hours. Here's where it gets disturbing. The coroner's report showed they died around 10:00 a.m., 6 hours before anyone found them. But multiple witnesses saw them at the rest stop after that time. A woman remembered seeing the family eating lunch at the picnic tables around noon. A man recalled the kids playing on the grass around 1:30 p.m. Another driver swore he saw the father pumping air into the van's tires at 2:00 p.m. All of these witnesses were interviewed separately. None knew each other. All described the same family in detail. The father's red baseball cap, the mother's yellow sundress, the little girl's braids, the boy's superhero backpack. Security footage from a gas station 10 miles away showed the van driving past at 1:15 p.m. But the medical evidence was irrefutable. Time of death, approximately 10:00 a.m. Causing carbon monoxide poisoning from a faulty exhaust system. They died in the van while parked at the rest stop, probably fell asleep and never woke up. So who were the people witnesses saw? Who was driving the van past the gas station? The case attracted national attention. Skeptics claimed the witnesses were mistaken, their memories confused. But then investigators found something that shattered every rational explanation. The van's GPS system kept detailed logs. According to the data, the van had been driven on a specific route after 10:00 a.m. It traveled from the rest stop to 3 different locations: a scenic overlook, a historical marker, and a children's playground. These were the exact locations the family had planned to visit that day. Police found receipts in the van showing they'd researched these stops weeks before the trip. At each location, security cameras or witnesses confirmed the van's presence. At the playground, a security camera captured footage of 2 children matching the descriptions of the deceased kids playing on the swings at 20:30 p.m. Their faces were clearly visible. They were smiling, laughing, very much appearing alive. But they'd been dead since 10:00 a.m. Forensic experts examined the footage frame by frame. No signs of tampering, no digital manipulation. The timestamp was accurate. The location was confirmed. The van in the video matched the license plate exactly. There's no rational explanation. The family was dead in that van, slowly heating under the merciless sun, their bodies beginning the process of decomposition. Yet something drove that van around Louisiana for 4 more hours. Something that looked like them. Something that completed their planned itinerary, visiting each location they'd wanted to see, almost like fulfilling a final wish. The rest stop where they died has become a place people avoid. Other drivers report seeing the same van parked there, always with a family of 4 inside, always appearing to be sleeping. When police investigate these calls, they find nothing, just an empty parking space. Vivienne Leroux retired 2 years early. She won't talk about the case anymore, but her partner says she became obsessed with one detail from the investigation. In the van, they found the little girl's diary. The last entry, written the night before they left for their trip, read, "Daddy says tomorrow we're going to see everything we planned. He says nothing will stop us. Not even if something bad happens. He promises we'll finish our trip no matter what. A story for the backwards man. Every joint in his body was facing the wrong direction, and he was walking toward her car. Isla Merrick was driving cross-country in September 2017 from Maine to California, documenting her journey for a blog. Day 6 found her exhausted, pulling into a Nevada rest stop around midnight. She was alone in the parking lot. Desert stretched endlessly in every direction, under a sky so full of stars it looked unreal. She got out to stretch her legs, breathing in the cool night air. That's when she heard it. Footsteps, slow, dragging, coming from behind the bathroom building. Isla turned. A figure emerged from the shadows, walking toward her. At first, in the dim light, something seemed off about his movement. Then he stepped into the glow of a parking lot light, and Isla's mind couldn't process what she was seeing. He was walking forward, but every part of his body was facing backward. His feet pointed behind him, but he was moving forward. His knees bent the wrong way with each step. His torso was twisted so his chest faced backward. His head was turned completely around on his neck, face staring behind him while his body walked forward. The movement was mechanical, wrong, like watching a video played in reverse while someone walked forward. He was coming straight toward her car. Isla ran. She fumbled with her keys, dropped them, grabbed them, threw herself into the driver's seat. Her hands shook so badly she could barely get the key in the ignition. In her rearview mirror, she could see him. Still walking. Getting closer, that horrible twisted walk, joints bending in impossible directions. She got the car started and floored it. As she flew out of the parking lot, she looked in her mirror one last time. He'd stopped at the edge of the parking lot, his backward, facing head watching her leave. But his body was still oriented toward the desert, like he couldn't actually turn around properly. Isla drove for 3 hours straight, too terrified to stop. When she finally pulled over at a busy truck stop with dozens of people around, she broke down crying. She called the police, but what could she tell them? A man whose body was on backward. They'd think she was on drugs, but she'd recorded something, her dash cam. With trembling hands, she reviewed the footage. There he was, clear as day, walking toward her car, every joint reversed, moving in that horrible mechanical way. She had proof. She posted the video to her blog that night. Within 3 days, it had 50,000 views. Within a week, 500,000. People called it a hoax, special effects, a marketing stunt. But then the comments started coming in, other people. Other drivers, other witnesses. A truck driver named Marcus had seen the same figure at that rest stop in 2015. A family reported seeing him in 2013. A woman claimed she'd encountered him there in 2009. All described the same thing, a man whose body faced backward, walking mechanically forward, always approaching parked cars around midnight. Isla dug deeper. She contacted the Nevada Department of Transportation, requesting information about that rest stop. What she found made her blood run cold. In 1987, a man named Julian Torres died at that rest stop. He'd been in a horrific accident on the highway, hit by a drunk driver while changing a flat tire. The impact was so severe it twisted his body, breaking nearly every major joint. EMTs said his body was facing the wrong directions. He died before reaching the hospital. But here's what made Isla stop sleeping. Julian Torres died at 12:47 a.m. Every single sighting of the backwards man across 30 years of reports occurred between 12:30 and 100 a.m., the exact window when Julian was dying, dragging himself across the pavement, trying to reach his car, his broken body twisted in impossible directions, determined to get home to his family. Witnesses who saw him up close reported the same detail. His face showed no pain, no emotion, just determination, single-minded purpose. Like whatever was wearing Julian Torres's broken body was still trying to complete his final task, still trying to reach his car, still trying to go home. The rest stop is still open. The state won't close it despite dozens of petitions. Isla returned there once in broad daylight with 3 friends for safety. They found something carved into the concrete behind the bathroom building. Fresh scratches like they'd been made recently. And underneath, scattered around the message, were dozens of scratch tally marks. Isla counted them. one for each year since 1987, like something was keeping track, like something was still waiting, still trying to remember which way to go. Story 5. The photographer. She took a photo of an empty parking lot. When she looked at the screen, it was full of people, and they were all staring at the camera. Naomi Reeves was a professional photographer driving through Montana in October 2018, chasing autumn landscapes for a gallery exhibition. She stopped at a remote rest stop near the Canadian border around dusk. The light was perfect, golden hour casting long shadows across the empty parking lot. She grabbed her camera and took a few shots of the scenery. Nothing special, just documenting her trip. One photo captured the empty rest stop building, parking lot, and surrounding forest. She checked the image on her camera's screen to review the composition. Her heart stopped. The parking lot wasn't empty in the photo. It was filled with people, dozens of them, all standing perfectly still, all facing directly toward her camera. Their expressions were blank, empty, and they were all dressed in clothing from different eras. 1950s dresses, 1970s bell-bottoms, 1980s business suits, modern clothes. Like a crowd spanning 70 years frozen in a single moment. Naomi looked up from the camera. The parking lot was empty. She looked back at the screen. The people were still there. She raised the camera to take another shot. Through the viewfinder, the parking lot was empty. She lowered the camera and looked at the screen. The people remained, standing motionless, staring at her. Her professional instinct battled her fear. This was impossible. Cameras don't work this way. She checked the camera settings, the memory card, everything. No malfunction. She took another photo of the same scene. When she reviewed it, the people were closer. They'd moved. Not walking, just suddenly closer, like frames had been skipped. Still staring, still motionless. Naomi felt ice run down her spine. She took a third photo. They were even closer now, close enough that she could see their faces clearly. Men, women, children. Their eyes were wrong, too dark, too empty, and they were all making the same expression now, mouths slightly open, like they were trying to speak or scream. She stopped taking photos. She backed toward her car, not taking her eyes off the actually empty parking lot. That's when she heard it, a sound like wind, but it formed words, dozens of voices whispering the same thing. Take our picture, take us home, take our picture, take us home. Naomi ran to her car, threw her camera in the passenger seat, and drove away at dangerous speed. She drove for 2 hours before she felt safe enough to pull over at a busy gas station with fluorescent lights and security cameras and normal people pumping gas. She sat in her car, trying to rationalize what happened. Mass hallucination, camera malfunction. She didn't believe in ghosts, but she had to know. With shaking hands, she picked up her camera and scrolled through the photos. They were there. All of them. 3 photos showing dozens of people progressively getting closer to the camera. In the final photo, they were only feet away, and in the center of the crowd, one figure had raised their hand, reaching toward the lens, fingers splayed, as if trying to touch whoever was holding the camera. Naomi is a skeptic. She doesn't believe in the paranormal. But she's also a professional who knows her equipment. She had the photos analyzed by forensic imaging experts. No tampering, no digital manipulation, no double exposure. The photos were genuine, unaltered images captured by her camera. She researched the rest stop obsessively. What she found kept her up for weeks. That rest stop had been a way station in the 1950s, a place where trucks stopped, where travelers rested. Between 1953 and 1987, 47 people disappeared from that location or the surrounding highway, vanished without a trace. Different decades, different circumstances, but all within a 5-mile radius of that rest stop. Naomi contacted families of the missing. She showed them the photos. 12 families identified people in the crowd. Their missing relatives, a woman who disappeared in 1959, a truck driver who vanished in 1973, a child who went missing in 1981. All there, all staring at the camera, all trapped in that impossible photograph. One mother broke down crying. That's my son. That's my Tommy. He's wearing the exact shirt he had on the day he disappeared. He was 7 years old. That was 42 years ago. In the photo, the boy hadn't aged a day. Naomi never went back to that rest stop. She couldn't. But she did one last thing. She printed the final photo, the one where they were closest, where the figure was reaching out. She examined it with a magnifying glass, studying every detail. That's when she saw it. In the background, behind the crowd of frozen figures, there was the rest stop building. And in the window, barely visible, was another figure. This one was different. It wasn't frozen. It was looking out at the crowd, and it was smiling. Naomi realized something that made her physically ill. Those people weren't just appearing in photos. They were trapped in that space, frozen in some moment between life and whatever comes after, and something else was there with them. Something that was keeping them. Something that smiled when new cameras arrived. New eyes, new witnesses. The photo is locked in a safety deposit box now. Naomi won't look at it anymore. She says every time she did, she noticed new details. More faces in the windows. More figures in the shadows. And in the very last time she looked, she swore she saw herself in the photo, standing in the back of the crowd. Same clothes, same camera, same terrified expression, staring at herself. Story 6: The wrong exit. The rest stop wasn't on any map, and once you pull in, you can never find the exit to leave. Felix Morrison was driving his motorcycle from Texas to New Mexico in July 2021. He'd made this trip dozens of times, knew every mile marker, every exit. But around 9:00 p.m., exhausted and low on gas, he saw a rest stop sign he'd never noticed before. It was old-fashioned, the kind they used in the 1970s, brown with white lettering. Rest area 1 mile. Strange, because Felix knew there wasn't a rest stop on this stretch. But his gas light was on, and he was desperate for a break. The exit appeared exactly 1 mile later. He took it, following a narrow road that wound through darkness. No streetlights, no reflectors, just his headlight cutting through the black. After a mile, the road opened to a parking lot. The rest stop looked ancient. The building's architecture was distinctly 1960s, flat roof, large windows, that optimistic space-age design. The parking lot had painted lines, but they were faded almost to nothing. A few old light poles cast weak yellow light, and there were cars, maybe 8 or 9 vehicles scattered across the lot. All of them were old models, a 1970s station wagon, a 1980s sedan, a few others from decades past. Felix parked his motorcycle and walked toward the building. Something felt wrong. The air was too still, no wind, no insects, no sound except his footsteps. Through the building's windows, he could see fluorescent lights on inside, but no movement. He tried the door, locked. He peered through the window. The interior looked frozen in time. Vintage vending machines, old-style payphones, a faded map of the highway system on the wall. But no people. Felix walked back toward his motorcycle, planning to leave. That's when he noticed something impossible. The entrance road he'd used was gone. Not blocked, gone. Where the road had been was just empty desert, like it had never existed. He walked to where the entrance should have been. Just scrubland and darkness stretching endlessly. His heart began to race. He pulled out his phone, no signal. He checked his GPS. It showed his location as the middle of nowhere, but no roads nearby, no rest stop. The app insisted he was standing in an empty desert. Felix got on his motorcycle and rode around the perimeter of the parking lot, searching for any exit. He found nothing. The parking lot simply ended at the desert's edge. No roads, no paths, just the lot floating in an endless dark landscape. Then he noticed the other vehicles. He approached the station wagon. Through the dusty window, he could see personal items, a child's toy, a map, a purse. The car still had its license plate, Texas, 1977. The registration sticker showed July 1977, 44 years ago. His blood went cold. He checked. One had license plates and registration from different years: 1983, 1991, 1998, 2003, 24, 2019, all expired. All from different decades, all from different states, but all of them looked like they'd been driven in recently. No flat tires, no rust, no weather damage, just dusty, as if they'd been sitting there a few weeks. Where were the drivers? As if answering his question, Felix heard a sound from the rest stop building, a door opening. He spun around. The The main entrance was now open, warm light spilling out, and standing in the doorway was a man in a uniform, a rest stop attendant. He waved at Felix, a friendly gesture, beckoning him inside. Every instinct screamed at Felix to run, but run where? There was no exit. He was trapped in this impossible parking lot with cars from 5 decades and a building that shouldn't exist. The attendant kept waving, smiling. Felix noticed his uniform. It was vintage, the kind maintenance workers wore in the 1960s, and the name tag, even from this distance, looked wrong. The letters seemed to shift, like they couldn't decide what name to display. Felix made a decision. He got back on his motorcycle, started the engine, and drove straight into the desert. No road, no path, just accelerated into the darkness, praying he'd find something, anything, that made sense. He rode for what felt like hours. The speedometer said he was doing 70 miles per hour, but the landscape never changed. Just endless flat desert, the same scrub brush repeating infinitely. And whenever he looked back, the rest stop was always the same distance away, its lights visible, the attendant still standing in the doorway watching him. Felix's gas gauge was on empty, but the engine kept running. That's when he realized something. Time had stopped. His watch had frozen at 9:47 p.m. His phone's clock showed the same time. He'd been riding for what felt like 3 hours, but no time was passing. He stopped the motorcycle. He was crying now, exhausted, terrified. He looked back at the rest stop. The attendant was gone. The door was closed. The lights had dimmed. And the other vehicles, they were moving, not driving, sliding slowly across the parking lot, rearranging themselves like pieces on a game board. That's when Felix understood. This wasn't a place. It was a trap, a pocket dimension, a moment frozen outside normal time and space. And every vehicle he saw represented someone who'd made the same mistake, someone who'd seen the sign, someone who'd taken the exit, someone who never left. Felix screamed. The sound seemed to echo forever across the empty desert. And then, as suddenly as it had disappeared, the entrance road reappeared, right in front of him. Clear as day, the exit, the way out. He didn't hesitate. He gunned the engine and rode toward it at full speed. The road seemed to stretch, but he kept going, refusing to look back. After what might have been seconds or hours, he saw the highway. Real pavement, real road. He burst back onto the interstate as a truck roared past him, horn blaring. Felix pulled over, shaking uncontrollably. His watch started moving again. 3:02 a.m. He'd been gone for nearly 6 hours. His gas tank registered completely empty. The bike should have stopped running an hour into his trip. His phone showed dozens of missed calls from his girlfriend. He never reported it. Who would believe him? But he joined online forums, posted his story, and he found others. At least 30 people over the last 50 years reported the same experience. A rest stop that doesn't exist, a parking lot full of old cars, an attendant who never speaks, and once you pull in, the only way out is pure chance, a random moment when the entrance road decides to reappear. Not everyone was that lucky. Felix found missing persons reports that matched the license plates he'd seen. A family from Texas in 1977, a salesman from Ohio in 1991, a college student from California in 2014. All disappeared on desert highways, all last seen heading toward a rest stop. The people who escape say the same thing. You can feel it calling to you. On long, empty highways, when you're tired, when you're low on gas, you'll see the sign, brown with white letters, rest area 1 mile, and part of you will want to take that exit. Part of you will think it's safe. Felix doesn't drive that highway anymore. He takes the long route, even if it adds 4 hours to his trip, because he knows the truth. That rest stop is still there, existing in its own pocket of frozen time. The attendant is still waiting in the doorway. The cars are still rearranging themselves in the parking lot like pieces of a puzzle. And somewhere, sometime, another driver will see the sign. They'll take the exit. They'll join the collection. And the rest stop will wait patiently for the next one. Story 7: The Maintenance Door. The door in the bathroom was labeled maintenance only. But when she opened it, she found a highway going straight down into the earth. Talia Monroe stopped at an Arizona rest stop in January 2020 around 2:00 p.m. normal day. Bright sunshine, families with kids, nothing scary. She went to the women's bathroom, used the facilities, washed her hands. That's when she noticed the door at the far end of the bathroom. It was metal, painted institutional gray, with a sign that read, "Aoi Harley Ra Parso NL." Nothing unusual, except Talia was certain it hadn't been there when she'd walked in 30 seconds earlier. She would have noticed it. The bathroom was small, just 3 stalls and 2 sinks. The door was impossible to miss. Curiosity got the better of her. She tried the handle, unlocked. The door swung open. Talia's mind couldn't process what she was seeing. Beyond the door wasn't a maintenance closet or storage room. It was a highway, a 4-lane highway with painted lines stretching away into the distance. But it was going down, sloping into the earth at a steep angle, disappearing into darkness. The highway looked real. Real asphalt, real painted lines, even real reflectors. But it was underground. She could see the ceiling above it, rough stone and earth, like the highway had been carved through rock. And down the highway, disappearing into the depths, she could see vehicles, cars and trucks, driving deeper, their taillights glowing red in the darkness. Talia stepped back, her heart hammering. This was impossible. She was in a bathroom at a surface-level rest stop. There was no way a highway could extend underground from here. She looked back at the bathroom. Normal. Fluorescent lights. Tile floor. She looked through the door again. The highway was still there. She heard an engine. A car was coming up the highway, ascending from the depths. It was an old sedan, maybe from the 1990s, covered in dust. As it got closer, Talia could see the driver, a woman, middle-aged, her face blank, eyes straight ahead. The woman drove past the open door without looking, continued up the ascending highway, and disappeared into darkness above. Talia slammed the door shut. She was breathing hard, starting to panic. She looked at the other women in the bathroom. "Did you see that?" she asked. They stared at her, confused. "See what?" One woman replied. Talia pointed at the door. It was gone. The bathroom wall was solid, uninterrupted. No door, no sign, just plain tile. But Talia had touched that door. She'd opened it. She'd seen what was beyond. She ran out of the bathroom, found a rest stop attendant, and tried to explain. The attendant, a kind older woman named Barbara, looked at her with concern. "Honey, there's no maintenance door in that bathroom. I've worked here 12 years. It's always been a solid wall," Talia insisted. Barbara agreed to check, probably thinking Talia was experiencing heat exhaustion. They walked back to the bathroom together. The wall was solid, no door, but Barbara noticed something that made her face go pale. On the tile, at exactly door height, there were scratch marks. Deep gouges in the tile, like fingernails had clawed desperately at the wall, and they were fresh, white ceramic showing through the beige surface. "Wait here," Barbara said, her voice suddenly serious. She disappeared into her office and returned with a binder. "This has happened before," she admitted. "Corporate told us never to talk about it, but you're the 4th person this year." The binder contained incident reports. 19 people over the last 8 years had reported seeing the maintenance door. All described the same thing, a highway going down into the earth, vehicles driving deeper, and every single person reported the same detail. They saw at least one car coming up from below. But here's what made it truly horrifying. Barbara pulled up missing persons reports on her computer. She'd been tracking them on her own, against company policy. 7 people had disappeared from that rest stop in the last 8 years. Security footage showed them entering the bathroom. None of them ever came out. The footage showed the bathroom door opening and closing, but the person never emerged. Searches of the bathroom found nothing. They'd simply vanished, and each disappearance happened within 3 days of someone reporting they'd seen the maintenance door. Talia felt sick. "What is it? What's down there?" Barbara shook her head. "I don't know, but I have a theory. You know what's underneath Arizona? Hundreds of miles of caves, ancient tunnel systems. Some mapped, most not. What if there's something down there? Something old. Something that needs people. And what if it's been building its own highway system, its own roads, slowly extending up to the surface? She showed Talia a map. Over the last 30 years, there had been similar reports at rest stops across the Southwest. Always the same: a door that shouldn't exist, a highway going down, vehicles disappearing into the depths. The reports formed a pattern on the map, a network, like veins spreading across Arizona, New Mexico, Nevada, and parts of California. "I think it's growing," Barbara whispered. "Whatever it is, it's building more access points, more doors, trying to connect to the surface in more places." Talia left that rest stop and never went back. But she did research. She found geological surveys of the area. Beneath that rest stop, sensors had detected something impossible: echoes suggesting massive open spaces in the bedrock. Spaces that formed linear patterns. Spaces that looked, on imaging equipment, like tunnels, like roads. And in 2022, a cave explorer made a discovery in an Arizona cave system. Deep underground, miles from any known entrance, his team found something that shouldn't exist: a stretch of asphalt. Real paving. Real highway materials underground, in a cave that supposedly no human had ever entered. The asphalt was old, dating back to the 1960s based on the composition, but there was no record of any construction, no permits, no projects. Someone or something had paved a section of cave, had built a road underground. The team followed the paved section for 3 miles before their equipment failed and strange sounds echoed from deeper in the tunnel system. They turned back. When they tried to return to document their discovery, they could never find that section of cave again. The tunnels had changed, rearranged themselves. Talia receives emails now. Other people who've seen the maintenance door. They all ask the same question: where do those vehicles go? Who's driving them down into the earth? And more importantly, what happens to the cars that come back up? Because that's the detail that keeps Talia awake. She saw a car coming up from below, driving back to the surface, which means whatever is down there, people come back from it. But the driver's face was blank, empty, like something else was behind the wheel, like something else had learned to drive, like something else was coming up from the depths, wearing human faces, returning to the surface world. The maintenance door appears randomly. Different rest stops, different times, always in a bathroom, always when someone is alone. And if you see it, you have 3 days. 3 days before it comes back for you. 3 days before you'll hear a knocking on your bathroom door at home. 3 days before you'll open it and find that highway waiting. Going down, always down, into the earth where something old and patient has been building roads for decades. Building a network, building access, waiting for enough doors to open, enough connections to the surface, enough ways to bring people down, or enough ways for something to come up. Story 8: The Mirror Family. She saw her family's car in the parking lot, but her family was supposed to be 500 miles away, and when she looked closer, they were all staring at her. Kamila Ostrovsky was driving home to Chicago from a wedding in Iowa, December 2019. Around 11:00 p.m., tired and fighting sleep, she pulled into an Illinois rest stop for coffee. The parking lot was nearly empty, just 2 semis and 1 other car. The car looked exactly like her mother's silver Accord. Same model, same year, even the same dent on the rear bumper from when Kamila had backed into a pole 2 years ago. Weird coincidence, but not impossible, except the license plate was her mother's. The exact same number. Kamila walked closer, her breath fogging in the December cold. Through the windows, she could see people inside. A woman in the driver's seat, a man beside her, 2 figures in the back. As her eyes adjusted to the dim interior, her blood turned to ice. They looked exactly like her family, her mother, her father, her younger brother, her older sister, all sitting perfectly still, facing forward, not talking, not moving, just sitting in the parked car, staring straight ahead through the windshield. But that was impossible. Her family was in Wisconsin at her aunt's house. She'd talked to her mother on the phone just an hour ago. They were 500 miles away. Kamila approached the driver's side window. She knocked gently. "Mom." The figure didn't respond, didn't turn, just kept staring forward, Camila knocked harder. "Mom, is that you?" Then, in perfect unison, all four heads turned to look at her. The movement was synchronized, mechanical. They smiled, all at the exact same time. The exact same smile, and their eyes were wrong, too dark, too empty, reflecting no light. Camila stumbled backward. The figure that looked like her mother mouthed words, "Get in the car, Camila. We've been waiting for you." But her lips didn't move properly. The synchronization was off, like a badly dubbed film, and all four of them were mouthing the same words at the same time, lips moving in perfect mechanical unison. Camila ran to the rest stop building. Her hands shook so badly she could barely pull the door open. Inside, a security guard sat at a desk. "There's someone in the parking lot," she gasped. "They look like my family, but it's not them. Something's wrong." The guard, a large man named Curtis, followed her outside. They walked to where she'd seen the car. The parking space was empty. No silver Accord, no family. Just an oil stain on the pavement. "Are you okay, miss?" Curtis asked. "Maybe you should sit down." Camila knew what she'd seen. "Check your security cameras. You'll see. That car was there." They went back inside. Curtis pulled up the footage. They watched the timestamp from when Camila had arrived. The parking lot showed her car pulling in. It showed her getting out, walking toward nothing. The space where the Accord had been was empty in the footage. The video showed Camila approaching an empty parking space, knocking on thin air, stumbling backward, running to the building. "There's nothing there," Curtis said gently. "Maybe you were dreaming, falling asleep at the wheel." But Camila knew better. She called her mother immediately. "Where are you right now?" "At Aunt Linda's, sweetheart." "Are you okay? You sound upset. Can you put me on video call, right now?" Camila's voice was desperate. Her mother switched to video. There she was, in her aunt's living room. Her father in the background watching TV, her sister reading a book, her brother playing on his phone. All normal, all real, all 500 miles away from that rest stop. Camila drove home that night, checking her rearview mirror every few seconds. About an hour from Chicago, she stopped at a gas station. As she pumped gas, a car pulled up to the next pump, a silver Accord. Same model as her mother's. Different license plate. The driver got out. It was her mother. Exactly her mother, same face, same hair, same winter coat her mother was wearing in the video call 30 minutes ago. The woman looked at Camila and smiled. "Hello, dear." Camila's mother was in Wisconsin. This was impossible. "Who are you?" Camila whispered. The woman tilted her head. "I'm your mother. Don't you recognize me?" But her voice was slightly off. The pitch was wrong, like a recording played at the wrong speed. "No, you're not. My mother is in Wisconsin." The woman's smile widened, became too wide, stretched beyond what human facial muscles should allow. "Am I?" "How do you know? Did you see her? Or did you see a screen, a video?" The woman stepped closer. "Which one is real, Camila? The family you see through a phone, or the family standing right in front of you?" Other people emerged from the car. Her father, her siblings, all moving in that same mechanical synchronization, all smiling too widely. Camila jumped in her car and drove away, running a red light, not caring. In her rearview mirror, she saw them standing at the gas station, still smiling, watching her go. She made it home, locked every door and window. She called her mother again. Video call. Her family was still at her aunt's house, still normal, still real. She asked them specific questions, things only they would know. They answered everything correctly. They were her real family. But here's what broke her. 2 days later, her mother mentioned something strange. "You know what's weird, honey? I had the strangest dream 2 nights ago. I dreamed we were all sitting in the car at a rest stop, waiting for you. We sat there for hours, just waiting. And when you finally arrived, we wanted you to get in the car so we could take you somewhere special, somewhere we'd all be together forever." Camila's blood ran cold. "Did you tell anyone about that dream?" "No, why? Did Dad have that dream? Or Emma? Or Jacob?" Her mother paused. "Actually, yes. We all had the same dream that night. We were talking about it this morning. All 4 of us, the same dream. How strange is that?" Camila hasn't told them what she saw at the rest stop. How do you explain that something created perfect copies of your family? How do you explain that something knew enough about them to replicate them physically? And more terrifyingly, how do you explain that whatever created those copies might be connected to the real family somehow? Connected enough to share dreams. She found online forums where others reported similar experiences, always at rest stops, always seeing perfect duplicates of people they knew, family members, friends, people who were definitely somewhere else. The duplicates always invited them to get in the car or come with us. None of the witnesses who agreed and got in the car were ever heard from again. One theory on the forums suggested something chilling. What if whatever creates these duplicates is studying us, learning how humans interact, how families work, how we recognize each other? What if the duplicates are practice? What if something is learning to perfectly impersonate humans, using rest stops as testing grounds, refining the disguise until it's impossible to detect? And what if it's already succeeded? What if some of those duplicates have already replaced real people? How would anyone know? If it can share dreams with the original, if it can access their memories, their mannerisms, their knowledge, how could anyone tell the difference? Camila sees her family regularly now. She visits often, studies them carefully. They seem normal, they pass every test. But sometimes, late at night, she thinks about that synchronized head turn, that mechanical smile, those empty eyes, and she wonders when she video calls them, when she sees them on a screen or visits them in person, which version is she really talking to? The originals, or something that learned to be them so perfectly that even they don't know they've been replaced. The silver Accord in her mother's driveway has a dent on the rear bumper, the same dent Camila made 2 years ago, except Camila checked her mother's maintenance records. The dent was repaired 18 months ago. The bumper was replaced. There shouldn't be a dent anymore, but there is. And when Camila mentioned it, her mother looked confused. What dent, honey? The car is fine, but Camila can see it, clear as day. The same dent, in the exact same place, on a bumper that was replaced. Like something wants her to know, like something is sending her a message, like something is saying, we're already here, we're already inside your family, and there's nothing you can do about it. Story 9, The Hitchhiker Parade. There were 47 hitchhikers standing along the rest stop entrance. All of them were identical, and they all wanted a ride. Desmond Wu was driving through rural Pennsylvania in March 2021, heading home from a business conference. Around 10:30 p.m., he saw a sign for a rest stop ahead. He didn't really need it, but something compelled him to take the exit. Later, he wouldn't be able to explain why. The access road to the rest stop was about a mile long, winding through thick forest. As his headlights swept the curve, he saw a man standing on the shoulder. A hitchhiker, thumb out, backpack at his feet. Normal enough, though it was late and an odd place to hitchhike. Desmond kept driving. Around the next curve, there was another hitchhiker. Same posture, same gesture, same everything. As his headlights illuminated the man's face, Desmond's stomach dropped. It was the same man, same face, same clothes, same backpack. He accelerated slightly, heart rate climbing. Another curve. Another hitchhiker, identical, same man, same stance, same everything, and another, and another. Every 50 feet along the rest stop entrance road, there stood an identical hitchhiker, same face, same clothes, same backpack, same thumb out. Desmond counted them as he drove, his breath coming faster. 12, 15, 20. Each one turned to watch his car pass, their heads swiveling in unison. 30, 35, 40. By the time he reached the rest stop parking lot, he'd counted 47 identical men, all standing along the entrance road, all with their thumbs out, all watching his car with the same expression, "Please give me a ride." The parking lot was empty. The rest stop building was dark. Desmond sat in his car, engine running, hands gripping the wheel. What the hell had he just seen? Clones, hallucinations, some elaborate prank. He looked in his rearview mirror. The entrance road was visible behind him, empty. No hitchhikers, no figures, just dark trees and empty pavement. He looked at his dash cam. It was off. It had been recording when he started the drive, but somehow it had turned off right before he took the rest stop exit. Desmond made a decision. He'd turn around and leave, but as he shifted into reverse, a tap came on his passenger window. He jumped, nearly screaming. A man stood there, the hitchhiker. Same face he'd seen 47 times on the entrance road. The man smiled and gestured, "Can I get a ride?" "No," Desmond shouted through the closed window. "Get away from my car." The man's smile didn't fade. He walked around to the driver's side, tapped on Desmond's window, gestured again, "Please, just a ride." Desmond hit the gas, speeding out of the parking lot. In his rearview mirror, the hitchhiker stood watching, still smiling. Desmond raced back down the entrance road toward the highway. His headlights swept across the shoulder. They were all back, every single identical hitchhiker, standing in the same spots, thumbs out. But now they were all smiling, all facing his car as he approached, all stepping closer to the road. Desmond floored it, his car weaving to avoid them. They didn't move out of the way. He swerved around the first one, missed him by inches. The second, the third. They stood their ground, forcing him to dodge, his car fish-tailing on the narrow road. Their smiles never changed. Their eyes never blinked. One of them stepped directly into his path. Desmond couldn't avoid him. He braced for impact. The thud was horrible, the sound of a body hitting metal and glass. Desmond screamed, slammed the brakes. His car skidded to a stop. He sat there hyperventilating. He'd hit someone, he'd killed someone. He had to check, he had to call 911 with shaking hands. He got out of the car. There was no body, no blood, no damage to his car. The front bumper was pristine, but standing all around his car in a circle were all 47 hitchhikers, surrounding him, all smiling, all with their thumbs out. "Just give us a ride," they said in unison. Perfect synchronization. One voice coming from 47 mouths. "We've been waiting so long, we just need a ride. Just one ride." "What are you?" Desmond whispered. "We're hitchhikers, we're waiting for a ride. We've been waiting since 1987. Please, just take us where we need to go." "Where do you need to go?" All 47 heads tilted at the same angle. "Inside." "Inside where?" They all pointed. At Desmond's car. At the back seat. At the front him. Inside. Desmond ran. He abandoned his car, ran into the forest, branches whipping his face. Behind him, he heard 47 pairs of feet following, running at the same pace, breathing at the same rhythm. He didn't look back. He just ran until he reached the highway, burst out of the trees, and flagged down a semi-truck. The trucker took one look at his face and let him in. "You okay, buddy? You look like you've seen a ghost." "Drive," Desmond gasped. "Just drive, please." As they pulled away, Desmond looked back at the rest stop entrance. 47 identical figures stood at the edge of the forest, watching the truck leave, all with their thumbs out, all smiling. The police found Desmond's car 3 days later, parked at the rest stop, engine off, doors locked. Inside was a backpack on the back seat. It was full of old travel documents, receipts, and maps from 1987, and a wallet with an ID, Marcus Hightower, 1962-1987. Desmond researched the name. Marcus Hightower had been a hitchhiker traveling across Pennsylvania in June 1987. He'd disappeared near that exact rest stop. His body was never found. Witnesses reported seeing him walking along the highway, trying to get rides. One trucker said Marcus had been desperate, almost aggressive, insisting he needed to get somewhere important. He kept saying he had to get inside, the trucker reported. "I asked him inside where, and he just said inside over and over. Creeped me out." Marcus's disappearance was never solved. But in the months after, other hitchhikers vanished from the same area. 7 in total over 3 months. All men, all solo travelers. All last seen near that rest stop. All described by witnesses as being desperate to get inside. The theory among investigators was that a serial killer was picking up hitchhikers, but no bodies were ever found. No evidence of foul play. They simply vanished. Desmond believes he knows what happened. Something at that rest stop took them. Something that needed to get inside. Inside vehicles, inside people, inside our world. And it used hitchhikers to practice, to learn, to multiply itself. Each hitchhiker it took became another copy. Another identical figure standing on that road, another thumb out, another smile, all waiting for someone to give them a ride, all waiting for someone to let them inside. The rest stop was closed 6 months after Desmond's incident. Official reason: structural concerns. But construction workers hired to demolish the building refused to complete the job. They reported seeing figures in the forest. Dozens of them, all identical, all approaching the work site, all asking for rides. The site remains abandoned, but drivers on that stretch of Pennsylvania highway report the same thing late at night. They see hitchhikers along the shoulder. Sometimes one, sometimes dozens, all identical, all with their thumbs out. And if you stop, if you roll down your window, if you ask where they're going, they'll all answer in unison: inside. We just need to get inside. Won't you give us a ride? Story 10: The Last Rest Stop. The sign said last rest stop for 200 miles. But when she tried to leave, she realized it meant something else entirely. Ophelia Grant was driving across Nevada in August 2022, moving from Boston to Los Angeles for a new job. Day 3 of her journey found her on the loneliest stretch of highway she'd ever seen. Not another car in sight, just endless desert under a punishing sun. At 4:00 p.m. a sign appeared: El Astero P 200 miles. She was low on water, needed to stretch her legs. She took the exit. The rest stop looked standard. Small building, bathrooms, vending machines, picnic tables. A few cars in the lot, nothing unusual. Ophelia parked, used the bathroom, bought a bottle of water from a vending machine. 15-minute stop max. She got back in her car, turned the key, and pulled toward the exit. But something was wrong. The exit road was different. She was certain she'd entered from the east, but now the exit seemed to lead west. Confused, she followed it anyway, assuming she'd misremembered. The exit road brought her back to the highway. She merged on, drove for about 2 miles, and then saw a sign: Us Rest Stop 800 miles. The same sign. She'd just left that rest stop 2 minutes ago. Ophelia pulled over, checked her GPS. According to the app, she was exactly where she expected to be, heading west. She drove on, watching the mile markers. After 15 miles, she saw a sign.
Just 2 miles.
Her stomach tightened. That didn't make sense. She'd driven 15 miles away from it. She kept driving. Sure enough, the rest stop exit appeared. Different number on the exit sign, but she recognized the access road. Same curves, same landscape. She didn't take the exit. She drove past it. In her rearview mirror, she watched the rest stop disappear behind her. She drove for 20 miles, then 30, then 50, and then, impossibly, she saw it again. Ost Rast 01 mil. Ophelia was gripped by rising panic. She was going in a straight line. The highway was arrow straight across the desert. But somehow the rest stop kept reappearing ahead of her. She checked her odometer. She'd driven 80 miles. She checked her gas gauge. She'd used almost a quarter tank. She was definitely moving. But the rest stop kept appearing. She pulled over on the highway shoulder, got out of her car. The desert stretched infinitely in all directions. The highway ran straight to the horizon behind her and ahead of her. But about half a mile ahead, she could see the rest stop sign. And when she looked behind her, back the way she'd come, there was another rest stop sign. And another one even further back. The rest stop was everywhere. Ophelia got back in her car and drove toward the next rest stop exit, deciding she needed to stop and think. Maybe her GPS was malfunctioning. Maybe she was experiencing heat exhaustion. She pulled into the parking lot. It was the same rest stop, same building. But something was different now. There were more cars, a lot more. The parking lot was nearly full, and the people, they moved strangely. Slow, mechanical. A man walked from his car to the building, but his gait was wrong, like he'd forgotten how legs work. A woman stood by a picnic table, completely motionless, staring at the desert. Ophelia approached another driver, a woman filling her tank at a gas pump that hadn't been there during Ophelia's first visit. "Excuse me, do you know how to get back to the highway?" The woman turned slowly. Her eyes were unfocused. "You can't leave," she said flatly. "This is the last rest stop. There's nowhere else to go." "What do you mean?" "I need to get to Los Angeles." Everyone needs to get somewhere. That's why we're all here. That's why we stopped. But this is the last rest stop. Last means last. The woman smiled, but it didn't reach her eyes. You should accept it. We all did eventually. Ophelia backed away. She saw a family sitting at a picnic table. 2 parents, 2 children. They were eating lunch, but none of them were moving their mouths. They held sandwiches, raised them periodically, but never actually bit into them, just going through the motions, like they'd forgotten what eating was but remembered they should pretend. She ran back to her car, started the engine, and drove out the exit at high speed, back to the highway. She didn't care which direction, she just drove. 1 hour, 2 hours. The sun was setting now, painting the desert in orange and purple. And then, illuminated in her headlights, Ost Rastop 1 mile. She screamed in frustration and fear. She'd been driving for 2 hours at 70 miles per hour. She'd traveled 140 miles, but the rest stop was ahead of her again. She pulled over, and in the growing darkness, she saw the truth. There were rest stop signs everywhere. Behind her, ahead of her, to the left and right off in the desert. At least 20 signs, all visible from where she sat, all pointing to rest stops that shouldn't exist. And in the distance, she could see them, rest stop buildings scattered across the desert like islands. Dozens of them, maybe hundreds, all identical, all glowing with the same yellow lights. This wasn't a highway. This was a trap. The last rest stop didn't mean the last one before civilization. It meant the last one you'd ever see. Once you stopped here, you could never leave. You'd drive forever, burning gas that somehow never ran out, traveling roads that somehow never ended, always arriving back at the same rest stop, or one exactly like it. Ophelia cried then. She understood. All those cars in the parking lot, all those people moving like robots, pretending to be travelers, they'd all stopped here, days, weeks, months, maybe years ago, and they'd never left. They'd driven and driven and driven, always finding the rest stop again, until they accepted it, until they parked their cars one final time and became part of the place. Part of the pretend rest stop for pretend travelers on a highway that led nowhere. She could see her future driving until she ran out of hope, then parking at the rest stop, walking to a picnic table, sitting down with the others, pretending to eat food she didn't have, pretending to be human, pretending there was anywhere else to go. But Ophelia refused. She got out of her car and started walking, not along the highway, perpendicular to it, straight out into the desert. No road, no path, just sand and scrub brush and darkness. The rest stop lights glowed behind her. She kept walking, her feet burned, her throat was dry. She walked for hours. The rest stop lights never got any further away. She walked until she collapsed, face down in the sand, exhausted. When she opened her eyes, she was in a hospital, Las Vegas. She'd been found by a helicopter search team 127 miles into the Nevada desert, severely dehydrated and suffering from heat stroke. Her car was found abandoned on Highway 95. She'd apparently pulled over, left the engine running, and walked into the desert. No rest stop nearby, no exits within 50 miles. The doctors thought it was heat-induced hallucination, trauma, psychotic break. Ophelia didn't argue. But when she was released from the hospital, she did research. She found posts online, other drivers, other stories, all describing the same thing: a rest stop that you can't leave, a highway that loops forever. Signs that say last raststop, that mean exactly what they say. One poster claimed to have escaped the same way Ophelia did, by abandoning their car and walking perpendicular to the highway. It's not a place, the poster wrote. It's a loop, a closed system. The highway is a circle pretending to be a line. The only way out is to leave the road entirely, to walk into what looks like nothing, because nothing is better than being trapped in something that pretends to be a road. Ophelia never drove across Nevada again. She sold her car and flew to Los Angeles instead. But sometimes, late at night, she dreams about that highway, that endless straight road under the desert sun. And in her dreams, she sees them, all the travelers who didn't escape, still driving, still seeing the same signs, still pulling into the last rest stop, over and over forever. And she wonders how many people are trapped in there right now. How many drivers took an exit for a rest stop and never made it to their destination? How many families are sitting at picnic tables in that parking lot, pretending to eat, pretending to be alive, pretending there's anywhere else to go? The sign says last rest stop, and for them it was 10 stories, 10 rest stops, 10 reasons to think twice before pulling off the highway. These aren't legends. These are documented cases with real people, real police reports, real witnesses who barely escaped. So tell me, have you ever stopped at a rest stop that felt wrong? Have you ever seen something you couldn't explain on a lonely highway? Drop your story in the comments below. I read every single one, and the best ones might be featured in my next video. And here's my warning: the next time you're on a long drive, tired, looking for a place to stop, pay attention. Notice if the rest stop looks too empty. Notice if other people move strangely. Notice if there's a maintenance door that shouldn't exist, because once you see the signs, it might already be too late. If you made it to the end of this video, hit that like button so YouTube knows you're brave enough for more horror stories. Subscribe and turn on notifications. I post new TR horror stories every week. And whatever you do, don't watch this video alone at a rest stop. Trust me on that one. Stay safe out there, travelers. And remember, not every exit leads back to the highway. Some lead somewhere else entirely, somewhere you can never leave. Until next time, drive carefully.